in 2026, there just aren't that many things you can count on anymore. You know, the saying, death, taxes, maybe add Iowa winning 7 or 8 games, right? I mean, Kirk Ferentz has been on this unbelievable run at Iowa. Obviously, entering year 28, they went 9-4 last year, 6-3 in the Big Ten. They are just this pesky, as Tim Brando always said about the teams who were trying to crash the BCS party, the fly in the ointment, as he called them. That's Iowa in the Big Ten, man. You don't want to have to play Iowa at a big point in your schedule. They're going to make the game ugly, and it is going to be defensive. It's going to be hard to move the football, and it's going to be like a backyard brawl, man. And it is just fun to watch these teams that come in with these high-powered offenses run into Iowa, and the way that Kirk Ferentz has gotten this program to win over the years. We're talking about the Hawkeyes today, man. If you can't guess, and I can't wait to jump into this. You're listening to the You Think You Know Sports podcast. We're still in our early days in this podcast. It goes along with my TikTok page where I have over 10,000 followers. We've added all the social media outlets out there. So I hope you'll come find us there. Those are new accounts as well. You can also find a lot more information, kind of the center hub of all this, on youthinkyouKnowsports.com, where I will have a huge preview up on Iowa very, very soon with a lot more information, although we go through a lot of it here on this podcast. So I hope you'll hit the subscribe button and go find us everywhere. Look, Kirk Ferentz has been 213 and 128 at Iowa. He's won 8+ games every year since 2015. Now that excludes 2020. They only played 8 games during the COVID-shortened year, and they were 6-2. I'm guessing they would have got to 8 that year too, with 4 more games. But who knows, right? But it excludes that year. Iowa's 35-18 over the last 4 years specifically, and now they've still got some of the same issues, but the offense has gotten better, right? I mean, last year they averaged 29 points per game. That's number 42 in the country. They only averaged 316 yards per game. That sounds like an Iowa offense, number 118 in the country. They ran on 61% of their plays, right? They were still good old Hawkeye football where you focus on the defense, you win with defense, and the offense makes the plays when it needs to. But they had a guy in Mark Gronowski who could make plays with his legs, and I think that was the key to kind of getting this offense to continue to move the sticks. They ran 130 times with Gronowski last year, 545 yards. Remember, sacks would be included in that in college football. But he had 16 rushing touchdowns. So when Iowa got close to the red zone, they could count on their quarterback to get in. And I just don't know if they have that on the roster this year. By all accounts, it sounds like Jeremy Hecklisnki and Hank Brown are still competing for this starting job as we go to the fall. It's June 1st, 2026 as we do this podcast. Neither guy has really played enough to know how they're going to handle it, right? So Brown was 11-21 last year, 107 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. He threw 52 passes the year before at Auburn, or the 2 prior years at Auburn combined, 52 passes. Hecklisnki has thrown 2 passes last year at Iowa. So the question is whether the sophomore Hecklisnki or the junior Brown will end up getting this job. Regardless, I don't know that they're going to have the running ability of Gronowski. Gronowski was a 63% completion percentage passer last year, 10 touchdowns, 7 picks. Again, a lot more production from his legs than what we saw through the air. What I don't question is the running game that should be there for this team. Kamari Moulton is back at running back, 170 carries last year, 878 yards, 5 touchdowns. He has 281 carries in his career with 10 total touchdowns. And he's joined now by LJ Phillips. Phillips, and these are real stats from last year, he played at the FCS level at South Dakota State. He had 295 carries, 1,920 yards, and 19 touchdowns. So LJ Phillips is going to bring another element to this offense with Moulton. Should make it so Iowa can continue to slow down games and do what they do so well, right? Rely on their defense. They have two offensive linemen back. Obviously, they've got to replace three guys on the O line. Logan Jones, the center, who won the Remington Trophy last year, is no longer there. So they've got Trevor Lauk, Cade Piper coming back on the offensive line. And we'll see. You got obviously having Lauk on the left hand side of that O line at left tackle should be a good thing for the new quarterback. You always want to have your blind spot covered, and left tackle such a big spot. Defensively, I do not have as many questions about this team, although there are not as many starters back as you would like. They only gave up 16 points per game last year, 8th best in the country. 289 yards per game, number 9 in the country. Opponents converted only 20% of their fourth downs last year. Only 20%. That's a pretty amazing number. Shows you how stout this defense was. So with only 3 starters back, Jaden Montgomery, a linebacker, is back on defense. You bring back Deshaun Lee at defensive back, and Zach Lutmer is also back in the defensive secondary as well. So there's going to be a lot of changes back there. Tyler Brown comes in from James Madison. He's going to be a key addition here. But everybody they brought in is from the FCS level in the transfer portal. So there's no proven Power 4 starter that Kirk Ferentz has been able to go get. Now, they brought in 16 guys. I've seen that Athlon Sports has referenced that as a all-time record for Iowa in the transfer portal. Iowa has traditionally been able to develop their guys, but now in this era where people aren't playing and they only have so many years in college, they move on to a new school, and you can't quite develop a team and a program the way that Kirk Ferentz has done it for 25 plus years now at Iowa. So it's interesting to see how that's going to change things for Iowa going into the future. I also think, and I know we got into the defense, but I do want to say it's interesting to me that with all the guys out there that Kirk Ferentz could have considered bringing in from the Power 4 level, he stuck with these 2 guys at quarterback, Hecklisnki or Brown. It makes you wonder if maybe he knows something that the rest of us don't. The schedule for Iowa sets up as interesting because I think after the first 6 games, we're going to know whether this team is really about competing at the higher levels of the Big Ten. So they open with Northern Illinois on September 5th. They play Iowa State September 12th in the Cy-Hawk Trophy on the line there. Should be a lot of fun, as it always is. Always a very low-scoring competitive game. Last year they lost that game 16-13. Northern Iowa on September the 19th. Listen, I don't know what it is, but it feels like when Northern Iowa plays one of these teams in state, that's usually a pretty fun, competitive FCS, FBS game. But then they got a trip to Michigan, September 26th. They host Ohio State on October the 3rd. So, again, we just talked about Indiana having those 2 teams back-to-back as well, Ohio State and Michigan. Iowa's got them too. October 3rd, Ohio State at Iowa. And then, actually opposite, September 26th at Michigan, and then Ohio State comes to Iowa. So, look, I think playing those 2 teams back-to-back is very difficult. When you add in the game with your rival in Iowa State in that first stretch as well, that's tough. When you finish Ohio State, you go to Washington to play at Husky Stadium, one of the hardest places to play in the country over the last few years. So, again, first 6 games, Northern Illinois, Iowa State, Northern Iowa, at Michigan, Ohio State, and then at Washington. I'm not calling it. I'm not making a prediction on June 1st. If you told me they're 3-3 after the first 6, wouldn't shock me, right? I could absolutely see it. I think the schedule gets much more manageable down the stretch. So the last 6 games on the schedule at Minnesota, okay? Then you have Wisconsin. A lot of questions for both of those teams. We haven't quite gotten there as we continue to make our way through the Big Ten. Then you have Purdue on November 14th. No, at Northwestern November 7th. Then Purdue on November 14th. Apologize. Then at Illinois November 21st. We have already broken down the Illini, who are going to be pretty different looking. Caton Hauser's now at quarterback there. Nebraska on Black Friday, November 27th, ends the season. So, again, the last six, after you get through Washington, the last six games are at Minnesota. Then you have Wisconsin, at Northwestern, Purdue, at Illinois, and Nebraska. I feel like that is the much more manageable part of the schedule as this Iowa team tries to, again, be a top 25 team, tries to prove that it can be a playoff contender in the Big Ten. We know they're going to play physical. We know they're going to run the ball. We know they're going to rely on their defense. But there's a lot of change here for this team. Not a lot of passing game last year, which has been the case for many, many, many years. I don't know if that's going to change this year, but I do think we're going to get less running from the quarterback position than what we got last year with Gronowski. Guys, listen, you're listening to the You Think You Know Sports podcast. We've been breaking down Iowa. I hope that you'll go find other places that you can listen to this podcast. If you just happen to catch me on a whim, we're everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify. If there's a spot you like to listen to podcasts and we're not there, let me know. I'll get us there. I'm also on TikTok every day. I go live 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern, extensive breakdowns when we get to the season on college football, college basketball, and the NFL. And then you can find me on my website, youthinkyouKnowSports.com. So certainly hope to see you on the next podcast as we continue to make our way through the Big Ten. We're going in ABC order, so Maryland will be up next. We're also working on the American at the exact same time. So I hope to see you there. Appreciate you listening. You've been listening to the You Think You Know Sports podcast.